Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? This is Easy Things to Draw, and I am Enrique. We're going to continue the kind of shading 101 thing. I should have continued it more, honestly, by now, but I got kind of like sick and, just mild stuff going on. So today we're going to talk about shading a cylinder, and I freehanded this cylinder. The reason I did that, let me tell you why. Okay, right now we're not going to use the grid for this one because I want to discuss the concept more than the actual thing. The concept is so important. So. Forget the grid for now. And for this. And so, one thing I want to talk about is, I freehanded this because usually we need, for ellipses like this, like on a cone like that, you need an ellipse guide, and ellipse guides are expensive. Those grid, those ellipse, you take out this plastic thing and you, unless you're drawing cars, I don't think you really need one. You know what I mean? They're like $100 or more, I think. Even the cheap ones are expensive, so forget that. I don't want to teach you with that because I don't think you necessarily need it if you're just going to draw, and just learn the concept of it and just try to draw it on your own. So, that being said, the ellipses are kind of like crummy, crummy-ish, you know what I mean? But, oh well. They're alright, just kind of hairy. So, let's go over this concept really fast. The reason I want to go over this before, like a circle is pretty easy, like a sphere. The cylinder is harder, and everything's cylindrical, like your arm is cylindrical, at its core, legs, stuff like that. So I think it's really important to learn cylinders as well. So let's talk about a couple of things. Number one, a terminology thing, and I kind of went over this in another video, but just a kind of reminder, major and minor access. When you have any cylinder, major is the longest point and minor tends to be the shortest point, which is almost always right angle to that. You know what I mean? A right angle in perspective normally, But so if we're looking at this guy from above, for example, we just imagine this. And this is a light source, by the way, in case you guys forgot. Light source, woo, indoor light source essentially. And let's talk about a couple of things. Let's take this right here and look at it from above. How would that look like from above? And that would be just a circle, freehand circle here. Let's pretend that circle's good. Freehanding everything today. And let's say the light source is right here, right, in proportion to that. So from above, let's find some corners there. Let's find some. This is really no major and minor because it's all the same. When we went over, really quick, is this going to fit on here? Yeah. When we went over, things with edges, like cubes and rectangles and stuff like that, what we did was we'd treat individual edges right here and kind of worked off those. So with a light, we grab that light source, and that meets the top edge of that corner, and the bottom of the light source, grounded, meets the ground of that. And that's how we found our shadows, right, for whatever, the edges. So we gotta kind of create our own with the circle, with this kind of cylindrical form on top, this round form, like top view. And that's why we do this. You would think, okay, very even, just chop it, in fourths, and that's it. Bada bing, bada boom. You got this point, you got this point, you got this point, you got this point. You know what I mean? And then you can treat them as such. Let me kind of do that with a ruler. And you can kind of just treat them the same way, right? If this is top view, you're only seeing that top view. The problem is that it doesn't work like that with a circle, because what's wrong with this picture right here? Other than the scratchiness of it. What's wrong with that? The light doesn't hit that first. The light doesn't hit that point first. It actually hits the outermost edge. That's where it actually... where the edge hits, you know what I mean? That's where the edge is on the outermost edge. It has this, because the square doesn't have that extra curve hanging out there. So in reality, when the outermost source of that shadow is going to be the outermost source of that shape, that bulge right there, the roundness of it. you know? So it's going to be more like here. That's where it touches. Let me just make that really, really clear. It's going to touch here. And that's going to be thrown into the shadow. That's where the shadow is going to be. You know what I mean? And that's a big, big deal. Please, please remember that. And like a cylindrical form like that, it touches another spot outside of the center, you know? Really big deal. And that'll throw, like I said, that'll create a totally different shadow. It'll be bigger as opposed to this one. It would be smaller if you actually did that. So let's take that to 3D, right? So in 3D form, let's just find the major axis. That's a major axis of the floor right there. Let's treat this like the same way. Let's say that's a major axis up here. Let me draw darker. Do you guys want to draw darker? Yeah. Let me draw a little bit darker here. A little bit darker. Just trying to make this darker. Okay, so that's the major axis, and the minor, let's say, is going off in perspective. Like I said, I don't have the grid right now, so let's just say it's around, let's say center. Let's say it's around here. So you find this edge right here, which was this original, like where it's chopped in fourths on the top, right? Chopped right evenly. And I'm going to pull it down, and I'm going to have my edge. See, that's how you would think, right? And then you find, this is again the wrong way, remember that. But we want to see where it would end up. I'm taking this tiny ruler, going from the top of the light source to the top of the edge, per se, that I found of the circle. Take the bottom where it's grounded, run it right through the bottom point of there that I found. See how that doesn't work? It doesn't really work like that, right? So what in actuality, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this right here, run this through the bottom first, see? The outermost edge. And I'm going to see where it touches, and I'm going to run that up. See, and that's really going to be our edge, per se, that we're going to use. And I'm going to drag the top of the light source through the top of that edge right there. So in reality, it's going to flare out. See, this point is so much different than this point. You'd have like a tighter, longer shadow. This is going to be different. It's going to be wider, more dissipated. Same thing's going to go for the other edge right here. Like, remember, we got to kind of see through the bottom base of that, I guess the bottom ellipse of that tube, of that cylinder. It's going to be around the same. It's going to be over here. I think it's about here, about so. I think I need to move it a little bit. Hopefully it's not confusing you. What I'm trying to do is I'm thinking of this in 3D. I'm gonna go over it one more time. Don't worry. I'm gonna actually go through it. What I'm doing. I'm gonna pull this all the way down. This is the point toward the back. That's the thing. When you start doing this, lines just start going everywhere, you know, and it starts to get kind of crazy. It starts to get confusing. So you gotta, for yourself, you gotta keep track of this. Pulling through. So now you have the outer edge of that circle. The one on the end, though, that's pretty straightforward, you know. Let's see. Since it's on top, you know what I mean? It would go there. And then this would be through that base as well. Essentially just kind of continuing this line. And that would be the outer edge of this. Because remember, we're trying to find the shadow that's on the ground. So now we have our 3 points. We have one here, our 3 main points here, and out here. Right? We good so far? You sure? So the hard part about this is you're going to have to kind of, at this point, you're going to have to eyeball them. You know what I That's kind of where you turning the paper has to kind of come into handy, you know. So I'm gonna try to. That's the outermost edge. I'm not gonna go outside of that edge, but I'm gonna connect this to this. You know, how round would that be? And I'm gonna like try to just put a curve on there. I'm gonna do it really light first. I'm gonna do the whole thing really light first, and then I'll kind of go into it. And then I'm gonna same thing on this side. Let me see, how far would that go exactly? Let me see. So it'd be around here, I would say. You're trying to make it seem organic. But those are just ballpark points, you know, for you to use. So let me darken it up now. And darken that up. I'm going to darken up that far end. Don't worry if it's a little weird. If this, I'm very aware this is super advanced, guys. So don't need to point that out. Anyways, and that would be my shadow. And let me kind of just to show you where the shadow is. And again, we're gonna go over it. I'm gonna go back through it. Okay, don't worry. I'm gonna fill in the shadow just to kind of so you can see where it is. Okay. And I'm actually gonna start a series on how to use these things. By the way, the grayscale markers. They're pretty cool. So this is that shadow right here. So that would be the shadow to this. We'll go over edges later, but you know, that would be the cast shadow of this. So let's go over it. I'm gonna go over all the way through, just like from the beginning. When you're doing the square, and you're trying to find a cast shadow of a square, you get that top light source right here, which is normally it's an indoor light source, meaning they're not all just even. It's an indoor light source, like a light in the room, or light post. And we're gonna find the top of our edges, really, like the top of the light source itself meets the top of an edge, and we get the base where it's grounded on the floor, where that light source is from. You pull it all the way down to the ground. You pull that to this point, to the ground of. To where the edge itself touches the ground, and that's how you find your normal points. That's how you're going to find the edges of your cast shadow, right? That's for a square. Same thing with a cylinder, with something cylindrical. The difference is, like I said, that it doesn't quite touch. You know, you can't just divide it up evenly like you can a square and have it go through those points, because it has that extra, like, bulging part of the circle around it. So instead of touching those even points on the cylinder, it will touch the outer edge. You know what I mean? The most outer edge is that's where your edge of your cast shadow will end up. So again, it kind of makes it a little different, and it makes the shadow wider, which is what will happen with a rounder object. You know, with a round object. And so then I'm taking that and putting it within, you know, perspective. Like I said, I'm not using the grid for this. I'm just kind of approximating things to kind of go over the concept. And I divide the top into major and minor axis. Minor would be found using the grid, the perspective grid that you have. I just don't have it on me right now. I didn't put it right now just because I wanted to kind of. I was thinking more about this concept than that. And then you think in 3D. You think of the top cylinder, the bottom cylinder, and then, the top ellipse and the bottom ellipse there. Don't have an ellipse guide. And I'm finding the edges of those the same way I found them in 2D. This is 3D. Treating that like that edge of that square I once had. I used, you know, as if I was using a square. I find my edge by finding the ground plane right here. I'm pulling toward the outer edge, the outermost edge of that cylinder. Keep mixing up cylinder and sphere. Anyways, I pull to the most outer edge of that cylinder. See where it's grounded? And that's how I find my outer edge of that bottom. Once at that outer edge, the outermost tip, I run a line upward to find the top point. And that's where I'm going to run the top light source through to find the edge of my shadow, for the cast shadow. I do that on the other side as well. Pull to the outer edge, find that, run it up, evenly up. I find another point that I can use. Run it on that side. I found the far edge over here. And just to show you what I mean, that's like, imagine seeing through that. Find the outermost edge over here, which is pretty much just simple. You just connect that one as well. That one you just connect straight out. You don't have to worry about this over here. About this little, even if there's like a tiny little bulge there, don't worry about it. That one you just run it out the far end. And then these outer points are what the cast shadow will be. That's how far it's gonna flare out. You know what I mean? So if you move this further back, it'll be like maybe a smaller one, not as flared out. Or if you move it forward, maybe if you move it over here, it's gonna be way more flared. It'll be huge, you know. And that's where it starts to really change things, and the dynamics are very different with the cylinder than just the cube, you know. When we're talking about cast shadow, this is all about cast shadow. Okay, that's about it. I hope you understand that. If you don't, please message me below. I know it's kind of an advanced concept, and you know, but it's really rewarding. Just to know this, it's super rewarding. I mean, I love it. It's quite amazing. You know, I didn't even know about this stuff when I first started drawing, and it might not even make sense till later on. But you know, to somebody out there. But anyways, thanks a lot, guys. They're just people who are kind of like art nerds. You know what I mean? It's like one of my nerdier segments, I think. Next time, I will probably, I'm not sure what next to cover in this, but there will be a lot more. So, thanks a lot, guys. See you later.